We're gonna do this again. Round 2. Been in this meditation space all morning. And we'll just bring it right in. The crows have been, ravens have been a theme showing up in my meditative space this morning. I was watching a video on a Siberian woman, like Siberian shamanism. These words are coming forward. Growth. And I think what I was trying to get at initially in this space, we're working through the development of the transformation guide, of building things up, of transforming in the transformative space. Leaning into and accepting the energy. And I think a lot of this started coming up through yesterday's, or maybe the morning before, morning meditation space, because we've gone through a new moon in Scorpio, I believe. And so the themes there are death, rebirth, transition, transformation, new things happening, and it wants to go deeper than that. Because it feels like the astrological part of it, the moon part of it, so much of it is superficial in some regards, because we dive deeper in, go into the depths, and further into the depths of that transformative process, where we have to reveal in that truth. And I think one of the reasons why that came forward for me, or kind of what came out of that perhaps, because in this realm of transformation and self-reflection, we have to know thyself, whatever knowing is. So there are different levels or different ways of profiling or personality profiling. So in the realm of astrology, right, I approach it through that lens. That being said, in regards to transformation, new moon Scorpio stuff, I have an aspect in there for anybody who knows anything about this. Maybe it'll make more sense without me really having to dive into the details of it. But I have Scorpio, Pluto, ruled by Scorpio as well, all in the first house, having to do with transformation. And I think beginning to really accept, I wouldn't say realize, it's something I realized a while ago, but never really accepted, something built in to the essence of me, or whoever I am in this meat suit, has to do with continuous, constant transformations throughout life. And it's difficult, right? Going through these constant death and rebirths, and it's just happened so much up to this point. I've submitted to the flow of it all. So perhaps this is where we get into the necessity of this space and what this can look like and how this would evolve. And I've been doing readings out of this space for a while now, wanting to transition into a newer space. So we're working on that. We're working through that as we build in the transformation guide and what that is supposed to look like. So if you have feedback in regards to that, in regards to personal transformation, things you want to know about, things you know about, contact me or put it in here. You can put questions in here too. Again, we're going into Raven energy. I made a note this morning from the land of Siberia, the land of the reindeer herders, and ironically enough, we're in Reno, Nevada, and that has, funny enough, in the nomenclature, right, reindeer, snow. So there's this fascinating inversion too, because there's a local spot, hot springs spot, what is that, Steamboat? Mark Twain was a frequent flyer years and years ago, but native tribes have gravitated towards here. But there's something in the mineral water there, or there's like a specific mineral in the content of the water that's only found there and in Egypt. So there are these polarized connections of opposites from this side of the world to the other side of the world, and we're inverting things in this transformative process. Ravens can survive all over the world. They have to do with death, rebirth, they can like survive in these really extreme circumstances and temperatures as well. And I think that's where maybe you're struggling, or you're finding that struggle is not necessarily having the skill sets to go through the extremities, or the extremities in the temperature. So we'll walk through that, because my understanding in the realm of, say, rite of passage and initiation into the shamanic practices, as these themes have come through, why do we go through difficult things? Why do we go through challenges? I have deviant moon here too, so I'll kind of use this as a reflector. We'll go back and forth between messenger guides, looking at spirit animals, and then we'll dive into the Crow Tarot as well, since I have it in Crows are a theme. This one has to do with looking at how far we've come so far, right? Noticing our growth aspects, being able to look back and perceive a lot of these accomplishments. Because I think going through a lot of these big transformations, we forget kind of where we have come from. Something has challenged our perceptions of self. Let me, before I get too far ahead of myself, we'll look at this one. This one has to do with trusting in magic, and I have I guess interesting thoughts when it comes to what is magic and what does that look like. Magical thinking, I think it stems out of something that's consciousness, but it dives into something more quantum physical, or the aspects of it. It's not like the hocus pocus trickery, because you have to watch that. There's a lot of that. If it calls itself a thing, it probably isn't a thing. Or I saw something about mentorship yesterday too. That made me reflect on a mentor of mine when I was in art school, and in I would say another incubating space, but a mentor will never call you, or will never say that they're your mentor. There's a humbleness and a humility that's missing in a lot of these aspects, and we're drawn into the illusory side of the magical elements. Okay, but we're going to go for trust. Magic is the mysterious and coincidental. It is at the heart of those moments of synchronicity and knowing. Knowing came through, and through this transformation guide, I'm going to be probably taking some notes kind of here and there. I've got all kinds of stuff out. But I've got a list of vocabulary going to, and knowing is there. What is knowing? One of my favorite sayings is, I know nothing. Talk about humbleness and humility. The more you know, the less you know, kind of thing. So how do you really know? You have to trust. It's more of trust in the knowing. It's woven into the awareness that there is more to life than what you can see. It is born of the moment when you step without fear and with loving heart into the void. Voice your desire and have great spirits and the messengers to show you the way. Trust in magic, it's real and it surrounds you. Let's look at that one a little bit deeper. Let's go into the grow aspects here. Because there's something about going into something, or going into a transformative quality, or going into the void, or going into this darkness where you don't want to go without, right? Like, if you're going to follow into a mine shaft or something, or if you're going to go into these dark tunnels, and there's tunnels and tunnels and tunnels, and you keep going in, you can't turn around without necessarily getting lost. So like tie a string or a rope or something to you. What do we have? 10 swords, and then the magician. So there's a backstabbing quality to magic, maybe, or maybe that illusory side of things, or something that has called itself magic will come back around to harm you, not necessarily in your best interest. So watch that. Watch where you're putting things. This one goes over here. Let's look at this guy. Because it's painful, or there's something I think if you're, how do we want to put it? It's something in that submission process, because if you want to submit to the flow of life and you want to go with the qualities of things, you're giving up an aspect of control or trying to control, or an aspect of ego, but there's something blocking that. Maybe blocking communication, maybe blocking your ability to spread your wings and fly, or just kind of the defeated, right? Defeated broken crow lies on the ground at the bottom of a cliff surrounded by cold, barren rocks. Alone in his misery, the poor bird has been left for dead. Impaled by 10 swords, his ordeal is marked by the heaviness of betrayal. The 10 of swords could indicate being backstabbed and may denote the end of a painful situation. If there's one positive aspect to the card, it is that the time of suffering will soon be over. Why do we suffer? Why do we go through difficult things? Why do people hurt us, right? This card asks you to let go and accept that an end is coming. By doing so, you will find the strength to move on. So something about the rebirthing, transformative quality, and overcoming the betrayals, and overcoming those that want to pull you in, because we're talking about transformation guide, and in this space, and in this reflection space, one of the meditative books I've been working on is this, How to Love Me, Better Relationships Through Self-Knowledge. Again, just something I picked up a while ago. I just felt called to open, so I've been coloring. I love coloring, but it's talking about following your bliss. When you follow your bliss, the life you ought to be living is the life you are living. Joseph Campbell. What is your bliss? Bliss is an interesting word. It's kind of beyond this idea of happiness, right? Because we just want to be happy and we want to be positive, but there's something in that blissful aspect that makes me think of that Modest Mouse song, if it takes shit to make bliss, then I feel pretty blissfully. If life's not beautiful without the pain, then I'd rather never ever see beauty again. So there's something in the contrast where you have to know one to know the other, right? And so in being given these skills and these tools, then how therefore do I give them to you is kind of where I'm at in the realm of things, especially post this energy. And that energy of having nothing and having to start over, having to begin again, again in that transformative quality. How do you come back from the dead, so to speak? How do you rise again into a new life? And it's tough work. I mean, it's not for the light of heart. I mean, maybe pun intended there. But there's a beauty. There's something so beautiful in that space. I think one maybe a piece we can keep here. I want to bring this one in too, because a horse showed up the other day. We're just finding that, or there's like a warrior aspect that comes into the white horse, or a purity aspect that comes into that defeat energy. So when reversed, it may indicate that you're focusing only on the negative, looking for reason to distrust. The warning here is, don't let fear of betrayal prevent you from living fully. When we've been hurt and wounded, or that's kind of, I think, why people do it, why they want to portray you, why they want to create these illusions, right? It's in essence to kill you. Ouch. And if we're not living to our fullness, or if we're not living fully and we're keeping things repressed and we're keeping things held in, I like planting the seeds. Seeds came forward last week too. If you direct too much attention toward the feeling, you risk manifesting your worries. I want to say yes and no. That's kind of the point of it, though, right? When somebody wants to bring you down and push you all the way down, and then take, or kill and separate. How do you come back from that? You don't ever come back from that the same. You never do. You have to release and go with the flow of life, right? And be open to concepts and things outside of yourself that you're not even aware of. That's a scary, vulnerable space, and that void and that emptiness. Because we're not taught in this contemporary culture of how to work with that, of how to be still, and how to work within the natural elements, right? If you have questions, you can ask. You can put them down in the comments. But I think it's necessary to shift things into a chewable, consumable way, if that part of it makes sense for you. And I think that's what I've been trying to work through with the guide space as well, how to put all of this information into bite-sized pieces. One of my dreams, and I guess still is, something that I've been striving towards and working towards, something I've always wanted, or at least that I've wanted since I've stepped into this awareness of myself, 10, 15, 20 years ago, is a space where I can put all the things together, somewhere where I can do the tarot, somewhere where I can have the studio, where I can have the gallery, where I can have the venue and the creative space to do that. And the irony is, within this energy, is when you get somebody who comes along and sees these ideas and somehow tricks you into something, or being coerced or manipulated, or whatever that was, whatever energy or frequency compelled me to sign the paperwork that I wasn't aware of, that non-compete, right? Like, I had somebody had me sign a non-compete against my own concept, and then they turned around and opened up that idea and that business. And so it's left me in this incubating space of how to still be able to show up in the world and, right, have that bliss, be able to follow my bliss with a roadblock in the way. Because on that journey, and as you go along those things, that's what is possible and what can happen. And then so if we're talking about these magical elements, yes, you must have courage going through this. Knowing your power too shows up, and we've got a horse here too, as far as knowing. We talked a little bit about what knowing is, right? So challenging your perceptions and your knowingness. Let's look at what the crow has to say about the magician. And funny enough, because I never looked into the booklet part of this, but it's got this little tidbit. Very special thank you to her beautiful daughter River, who inspires her every day to create art for the sake of happiness first. Happiness first, something within the bliss in that creative space and the art of that. What inspires you? Tarot from the crow's perspective, flying through the veil, looking beyond the veil, breaking through the veil, and in those dark spaces where we go through these initiation rites, or at least in my own personal experience of having to pierce through that veil and seeing what's on the other side of things, it can, it's a little shocking. Magician is fun though, because we're talking about alchemy, resourcefulness, creativeness, manifesting, and manifesting again, air side. How do we pull all of these elements together? How do we manifest the things? I don't know. I'm coming to this realization too, that, or have been for a while recently, is that I have everything I need. I have everything I need in order to do what it is that I need to do, right? We're not looking for perfection first. Connecting the physical world with the spiritual realm, the magician crow pulls the energy of the four suits representing earth, water, air, and fire to create a spark that has the power to manifest into a transformative idea. Are we trying to manifest a new self, a new way of being, manifesting a greater transformation outside of the self? And maybe this is why this feels almost impossible, is because there's like a collective depth in diving into this as far as wholeness and evolutionary purposes. So something goes beyond your own ego needs. Rising above the craggy, desolate mountains lined by red and white roses at the base, the magician symbolizes the first steps of generating success. He has the ability to carve out the desired path through difficulty using life experiences and a pure heart. We talked about this one a little bit though, right? If we're looking at it from the other side of things. Sometimes, however, the crow is an imposter, a trickster. Reversed, the magician crow uses the connected power of the spiritual realm for greedy purposes. The magician in this position may denote you have fallen prey and have become another gullible victim. Take the time to look inward and ask if your motives are pure of heart. I think that has to do maybe with this part of it as you move on into your journey, right? Take a look at who is profiting off of your work. Where that energy is going. I mean, it might not necessarily matter or like materialize in the ways that you want it to. Let's look at this side of it first. Let's look at some of these inversions, because there's like warning signs this morning. As we're climbing up from the bottom, or as we're regrowing into these things, there's like still residual pains, or there's just warnings. Like once you know a person's capacities, understand that these capacities extend beyond that person as well. Let's look at community here in a minute, or the whatever you're surrounding yourself with, because it feels like there's gatekeeping. Serves as a warning to look out for someone who is impatient to a fault. Again, this came through reading a couple of days ago. Patience pays, wait, good things will come, consolidate, concentrate, just be you. That comes out of Kundalini and was given to me again by another mentor and teacher of mine. Something about the knowingness, or just going with the flow of it. It's not like necessarily knowing when, it's just if you go with, it'll just happen, just knowing that it'll happen. Eventually you'll move your way downstream. He too often overlooks important information, and as a result, many of his plans end in failure. Maybe we'll look into some of those detail aspects too, but let's look at this, because there's something in the knowing, like we think we know, but maybe we don't know, or there's something maybe the ego knows, or that it's closing itself off to, or that it's boxing itself into, preventing ourselves from looking outside of that. Channels the charging energy of his horse and moves forward with raw power and determination. With the sun high in the sky offering plenty of daylight ahead, flies without hesitation. Confident of success, even if he experiences moments of uncertainty about where he is going. Reflects the person who jumps in without weighing all the consequences. So, but trust again. Trust in the magic, right? So trusting in this process, because it probably doesn't make sense, or it just seems maybe a little far-fetched to you, but trust it and go with it anyway. He possesses an energy that is pure enthusiasm, a much-needed ingredient when executing a plan. And as I learned through another teacher in spoon-bending stuff, laughter is the key to manifestation. you need a key, you gotta laugh about it. And again, if it takes shit to make bliss, you gotta find a way to look at these difficult things in such a way where they can empower you and not take away your power. That's that whole it happened for me, not to me mentality, right? So what is this doing for you? Even in those darkest, most hideous, horrific, awful, terrible, whatever things, there's something in there for you, like the light in the darkness part. Warns that although passion is essential, you must find balance and clear thinking for a project or a situation to find success. Because it's, again, talking about enthusiasm. Or maybe we get into the realm of false positivity, where, again, we're missing out on the, like, little treasures that are hidden in the darker places because we're not willing to embrace it. And as you stare deeper into those light things and that, like, unadulterated exuberance of naivety, right? Then you're forgetting that grounding aspect and that balance of, I guess, the depth and the darker things and how those are supposed to create a sense of wholeness in you, not necessarily a sense of loss. If it creates a sense of void or some radical loss or loss of a thing, place, person, it's created this big gap in this big void, or it feels like something is empty or something is missing. It's a golden opportunity, I guess, or it's this opportunity to bring all of these different things together, fill it up with whatever you want once it's been emptied, but it's being very conscientious of what things you're putting into that, being very attuned to the subtle bodies. And again, with the animals and with nature, then we're talking about that space of silence and listening and that quiet, receptive state. And we lose that in these big groups. We lose that in the city, in the busybodiness, in the noise factors, because there are noises that are preventing us from being fully attuned with the energies that move through us. Maybe that's a good way of putting that for you. Because we get caught up in these ideas of, especially when things are working out and going really well, where you get that inflated sense of self. And the more inflated you become, the further it is you have to fall, if that part of it makes sense, the easier it is to come along and pop somebody's bubble. And that's another quality or another trait that I'm trying to understand more about this whole first house, Scorpio, Pluto, whatever thing. I've been looking on like group forums and things like Reddit, Quora, and other people seem to have those experiences as well. And so I understand that in this space too, people are either really receptive to it or they're very repelled to it. And there's something in there, in that repulsion, right, where this sort of transformative quality, transformative nature is going to bring up anything that's at the bottom and needs to be worked through. In talking about energies, in like subtle body energies, I just think it's interesting. And what's kind of catching my attention right now is the Nintendo that I have plugged in over there, because it's been on for the last, I guess, few days. My son was here over the week. He's so good at Nintendo, like so good at video games. But he got himself like to a pretty advanced level. So we just left the power button on, and I noticed in talking, I looked over and the power button or the power light was off. And then you came back to the space and looked back, now the power button's back on again, or the power light is back on. I'm going to pull back a little bit. Kind of bring some of my energy back into myself here. Allow the shapes to reveal deep connections between your desires and life experience. When you draw a map of what you really want and what is important to you, you start feeling blissful in the moment of creating it. So something in blissful in that essence of creation, which would assume the opposite in the destructive element. So if you're outside of this state of bliss, or if there's a discontent or a disharmony, even in things that you're creating, there's a destructive component or a destructive element to that. So be mindful of that. Watch that. Come off these wands here a minute. Again, if you have questions, you can ask. You can put them down into the comment feeds. I have a Venmo space if you wanna give me money. We're gonna talk about our concierge. Maybe I'll put that down. Or put something into this space too, because there's something about the consolidation or the organization of elements, where it's for other people. It's not the way you want to do it. It's how other people want to do it. Challenge perceptions keeps coming up here, so we'll look at that in a minute too. Let's look at all these cups. I think there's just a component of living in a completely different way. Even how you change your clothes or how you wear your hair, there's just an embodied essence or energy that you can tap into. Don't give too much away, they say. The proud crow stands atop all the riches he's been able to collect. Because he actively went after each desire, the positive energy of the universe conspired with him to ensure the fulfillment of his wishes. But again, I want to make note here too that sometimes the things that we wish for are outside of our destiny, or outside of our kismet. And if we're trying to align ourselves in a direction that's, I don't know, let's just keep going. His mission now complete, he can enjoy a life that meets all his needs and then some. He stands there feeling a bit superior, but also incredibly grateful for his life of leisure and comfort. When the Nine of Cups appears, be ready to accept all the abundance and joy of a wish fulfilled. You've earned it. In contrast, reversed, it suggests that you expect the whole world to hand you your desires without putting in the work. As a result, you're only focusing on lack, and because of this, you're finding it difficult to manifest the thing you want the most. Right, that's my moment of self-reflection. Nourish the soul. Be patient, 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 patient. So challenge your perceptions. Your perceptions of self, of purpose, of what it is that you should be doing. Let's put those over here. Know your power. We'll look at that one here for a second. Because it's like somebody has taken your power away, or you've given your power away, or you're watching somebody else manifest off of your power. Which, again, projection is another word that came out. So maybe you're perceiving something outside of yourself as being different from you, but it is you. And so there's like a disconnect. And this one's kind of bothering me too, because it starts out with you have a choice in things. I mean, we can choose so much as our behavioral backlog, or our conceptions and our conditions and all of that will allow for. So we have to open ourselves up to the idea that something can be beyond what we want it to be. Knowing your power. You have a choice in all things. I mean, to an extent, you have a choice. Maybe choice is something that we can look at over here too. Because I've gone on and on and on about this a number of different ways. I want to explore it a little bit more. Okay, this just isn't the platform for it, and that's fine. I'm just gonna do what we can with this platform while we're here. To know your power, you must accept responsibility for your part in all you experience, even when you allow another to impose their choice or will upon you. Especially if you're trying to be nice. That's where I feel like I've gotten, thank you, the biggest, where did it go? The biggest backstabbing energy, this one. Anytime it's just nice, you're trying to be nice, and then somebody comes along and they perceive that as a weakness, and they steal from you, they take from you, and then kick you, and then try to grow off whatever you did. So fine, let them grow with whatever that energy is, but there's something deeper here. There's a deeper seed planted. You have the power to choose if you wear a saddle or a bridle, or if another will ride upon your back. Own your power, know it, and see it in all of your choices and actions. I mean, yes and no. Because what if you don't have a saddle and you're forced to ride bareback? It doesn't mean that you still can't get there, right? Or even if you have a saddle and you try to put it on, doesn't mean that the horse is going to let you ride just because you put a saddle on it. So we're going bareback through the wind here. Let's look at Knight of Wands. Did I already pull it up in here? I think I did. Ow, sorry. Because wands have to do with creativity and manifesting as well. Intuition, creativity, action. Fire as well. Let's talk about this one because I said I would. Challenge your perception. And that's kind of, I think, part of that transformative quality is to put all of your beliefs, notions, all of your perceptions to one side and look through another lens. I don't know. You cannot challenge an outdated perception or one born from a lack of understanding if you're unwilling to put aside your feelings and beliefs and embrace another's point of view. There's kind of like intentional misunderstanding as well. Like a deflection in a way, because there's been plenty of times where I've had conversations where we're talking about let's say my deeper, nerdier interests, and we start going on and on about these things and these topics, and I've noticed, I've seen this in people where they'll do one of two things, where they'll either lean in and go for mutual understanding, or they're the people who are like, oh, I don't understand, and they just dismiss everything, and they use that opportunity of ego of I don't understand to project that on everything, and then start deflecting and deflating. To do so, right, we're embracing another's point of view. To do so makes you aware of the whole and stands you up on high, where you can see that both parties involved in a dispute can act against an injustice. Both can be right, both can be wrong, and what one may perceive to be harmful, one may be seen as both healing and beneficial to the other. So again, inner judgments, it's whatever you want to call it, which is why you have to be careful about what you want to name something, because we want to name things, right? We want to put titles and labels on stuff so that we can, I wouldn't say understand them, but create a self-confirming bias, that self-confirmation bias, so you have to watch out for that too. It's very easy to create a self-confirming or confirmation bias in a situation, especially when you're perceiving conflict. Because when one person perceives conflict in a situation where it's not being perceived as conflict in another situation, there's this opportunity. Maybe, I don't know, the sun is coming up here. So let's look at the sun. Because it came up reversed. Loneliness, unstable relationships, and separation. Successful social relationship, friendship, engagement, happy times, pure joy. And there's like that mutual understanding, or when we can empathize by putting ourselves in another person's shoes and taking our beliefs and our ideologies and our truths and our ego and setting it off to the side and allowing something else to come in and shift the energy currents that we're feeling, right? So it shifts and changes our feelings. Twins meet by the city wall. They came as two individuals, yet the sun above unites them into a single soul, where we're all consciousness expressing itself in many different forms, and we're all kind of one and the same thing. It's just going to take time and patience and a lot of hard work and initiation cycles. I don't know, there's like a 10-year gap, or there's a 10-year void, or a 10-year period of initiation, or something I heard or saw recently too about shamanism and going through this period. If you're being initiated into this, then you go through your 10 years of hardship, you know, and that difficulty. And there's, and I learned this going through another traumatic experience, you know, with somebody who claimed to be a shaman from Belize and put me through this horrific experience, and understanding it from this lens of initiation, right? Or there's a purpose to it, has been incredibly empowering in one way or another. But it's definitely been a catalyzing factor that has gotten me here. So maybe that's something we can talk about as we move forward within all of this, because my goal is pulling off of this platform and then getting into putting it onto a more viable platform for whatever reason but it just has to go into a broader space. I need a bigger net. Do not fear the unknown. But we're taught to fear the unknown. We're conditioned to fear things that are different than ourselves. There's a lot of stigma and conditioning on straying away from or demonizing things that are harmful, or that we perceive to be different and harmful. Again, you can ask questions if you come into this space. I can see your comments. Do not fear the unknown. But we're working through things, and I feel like in these spaces you've got a lot of attachments or entities or just things to work through, and that's fine. It's not like, again, you should be shunned or demonized. We're in this space because we can work through those difficult things. But it's learning how to alchemize them, to share them, to know what to do with them. So here we are. I'm looking at the wrong book. Let's go to this one. Am I in the right one? I think so. I believe that this is, and this is 7. because we stay in these patterns and we stay in these cycles because it's comfortable and familiar. You see this a lot in domestic violence situations or in abuse survivor situations where people just become familiar or comfortable with it. They can predict what's going to happen, even though it may be something harmful or painful. That being able to predict and to know gives people this false sense of control, right? Which ultimately can be detrimental because you're not really in control of anything. Once you submit to the flow of life and the way things are, you realize you're a conduit or a vessel, or you work for the community and you do something beyond yourself and it isn't about you. And a lot of people don't want to dive into that space because they want to stay in what's known, or they want to be known, or be known by a specific community, or be known for something else, or have that validation of being known and seen, or kind of like chided over. And I don't know if chided is the right word. I might look that up. Oh yeah, the ugly is not always bad and evil, and the beautiful not always good and just. And remember that. I'm gonna look up chided real quick because I think that has a big tying theme into what we're discussing here this morning. So we'll just sit with that, let that incubate for a second, right? What is ugly isn't always bad. What is beautiful isn't always good. So we see that in our current situations. Oh, how funny, on my little search bar on my computer, down at the bottom, it's Steve Irwin Day, and there's this little tiny picture of Steve Irwin holding an alligator. I don't know if you can see it or something, whatever. But we're talking about animals, so maybe this is appropriate too for Steve Irwin Day. Oh, it doesn't want to stay open. That's fine. Maybe it'll come up this way. Animals especially, I think, get bad raps or get locked into this realm of dirty, gross, disgusting, somehow beneath and below, or even ugly. But it doesn't mean that they're bad. They're necessary, like insects as well. No, you don't want to open and work for me. Of course you don't. That's fine. Always say, like, I have the worst luck with technology, or we get into these spaces. Okay, there it goes. Just like that over there, and then like the things around me or the technology around me starts going kind of funky and kerplooey. Like spoon bending and fire bending. I'll finish reading this here in a second. Let me chided definition. Scold, rebuke, chastise, upbraid, berate, castigate, lambast, rebuke, reprimand, reproach, reprove, admonish, lecture, criticize, censure, pull up, go on at. I'm not exactly sure how that came forward here, so this would be interesting listening back to. The ugly is not always bad and evil, and the beautiful not always good and just. Failure is not predetermined, nor is it a given that others laugh at you if you choose to follow your dreams. Like, people are going to laugh at you no matter what. People are going to find different ways of criticizing you and bringing you down no matter what you do, so you might as well do the things that bring you the bliss. Not just my advice that I've heard, so lean into those aspects. Let's see. It is your fear of the unknown that makes you question and judge, and isn't that true? Because we want to hold on to these ideas and that knowingness. We want to know and be able to predict. So I feel like if people are questioning you or judging you in certain ways, then you're somewhere in this realm of this unknown territory, and so there's like a beacon there. Do not let another's experience be the truth that guides you. And I find that a lot in this transformative space as well, and having in these conversations, because what works for me isn't going to work for you, and vice versa. What works for you isn't going to work for me. So we find this space here of self-empowerment and building these tools where we can go into the unknown, trusting in the energetic flow that the void will bring us the greater truths. Do not allow your fear of an unknown outcome to hold you prisoner. Your own experience could be both different and rewarding. Live, live, live. Which is ironic because we're talking about crows and transformation and death and rebirth and going through these cycles. Somewhere like the point of life is just to live. Live and keep living. Whatever it is, seek your destiny is here. That's kind of interesting because maybe you don't know what your destiny is, or how do you find it through the void. That's kind of part of it. That's where the Kismet comes in. It's not so much your life's purpose, but it's your life's destiny. So it's not, I have a purpose. I did something on purpose, so there's something purposeful that I'm supposed to do. It's more this energy of no matter what I do and no matter what purpose I serve in the greater world, I'm destined for something very specific. And maybe in the broad spectrum of all time, in that behavioral realm of antecedent behavior consequence, we have all the antecedents of billions of years before us that are somehow creating and forming the situation as it is now. So you have all of these variables, I mean, an incalculable number of variables that have created this moment, right? And all of these variables in their mathematical sequence are going to equal out, or going to, there's a formula, there's a prediction to it. It's not that it's like, magical and mystical, or it's coming out of the unknown, or I don't know, some people do. Some people tap into entities or beings that take them off that pathway. Something about opening up the channel, because that came through in that video I was watching this morning too, and I don't know if I'll put it up. I might. I don't know, we'll come back to it. I'll leave it in my notes, and then leave it in my notes, and we'll see where it shows up later on. So seek your destiny. You have purpose and reason for being. Like your life is on purpose. Maybe your death is on purpose too. Other souls topics about suicide are coming through. There's just a lot of questions here, like what ifs, or a lot of voices and a lot of talking and chit-chatting there, so we can have conversations about that personally, and outside of that you just have to reach out to me and we can have those conversations. You could have one or several destinies. Are you afraid to believe in destiny because others may laugh? Don't be. That kind of came up in another one too, in other people's judgments. That's fine. I mean, there are people that watch this and they're like, oh, look at her, you know, they find aspects of judgment. We're going to move that through. I'm going to smudge this here for a minute too, because I feel like there's that energy here. That's fine. If you're watching and have that energy, that's fine. There's still a point and a purpose and a reason. Right? You're still here learning. So ask yourself that, and ask yourself what you're doing with this information. Because it'll cost you. I mean, it doesn't necessarily cost you money to receive, but there's a a cost in this exchange where you become aware of something, of knowing, or you become knowledgeable of something, and once you know it, you can't unknow it or unlearn it. So far, it's going to be there, and so something reciprocal from that you'll feel later. It could be as simple as taking a moment to look within and discover those things that you love most passionately and bring them out into the light. Right? Uncover those passions, bring them into the light. Fine, we'll just do it. We'll just put the work out there despite what other people think. And another teacher, mentor of mine, despite how I feel, I'm going to do it anyway. And I feel that way a lot coming into this space in the morning. There's a lot of I don't know, I feel there's like this pattern, right, where there's an opening up and there's like an access to the information. It's like, oh, it's there, and it just feels very pure and eccentric and blissful. Blissful is a good way of putting it. And then I start thinking about it, or I distract myself with little things, and I start wondering, oh, I don't know, or judgment, maybe, and then that layer kind of suppresses a lot of my impulses to show up in this space. So despite how I feel, I'm going to do it anyway. We're just going to show up and do it. But you will never know if you are afraid to step through the doorway and see what's on the other side. And that's the other side of perception as well. There's something about portals of perception. Let me put that here. Maybe I had this one. That's okay. We'll put that there too. Lots to come, lots of information. I've been writing so much lately. And today we're just like so far into the depths of incubation, and I have this beautiful, awesome, amazing opportunity today to be in this space all day. And so I'm challenging myself to stay in this space all day and produce with it, because I can feel myself wanting to deviate a little bit, or wanting to step out of that, or just kind of stay on the doorsteps here, if you know what I mean. Because it's interesting, anytime we pierce through those veils, or we go through those big transformations, we get to this level of conscious comfort, perhaps, or comfort within our consciousness and our psyche. And then we have this opportunity again to go beyond and go into something much bigger and much broader. It's a little overwhelming, like, whoo, I gotta catch my breath before I dive back in and take in all of the beauty around me, even in all of its dusty corners, maybe. Dusty corners, opened boxes, like there's like a discord here that just feels very interesting. Best not to think on it for too long, right? And just keep flowing. Trust that everything you hope and dream of will be there waiting for you. I mean, kind of, like you just have to jump into a lot of these processes or these things, and just knowing that whatever you need will be there when you need it. Challenge your perceptions again. Need and necessity. Okay, we'll talk a little bit about need and necessity, because if you we think we need things, we don't think we need things, and then we go through these experiences and be like, why did I didn't even realize that's something that I needed. But funny enough, we've got 2 crows here as well, 2 crows and an eagle, so we're getting, I guess, 2 eagles here too, because we're up here in the crown. So we're getting this higher perspective of transformation and what these cycles are and what self is, and coming out from behind these masks. Need and necessity, wanting and needing. People get really caught up in like, do you need help? I don't need anything. Oh, she's so needy. Oh, she needs something. Or like there's that negative connotation that we put on need. I'm kind of curious about this word too. Because it can be a noun, it can be a verb. As a verb, require, because it's essential or important. Expressing necessity or obligation. Be necessary, so something about need and necessity kind of tied in together as far as the action. Lest you, even more than needs, embitter our parting. Interesting. In an archaic sense. As a noun, circumstances in which something is necessary, again, the necessity again, or that requires some course of action. Action is there. Necessity, a thing that is wanted or required, the help of requiring help, or the state of requiring help, or lack of basic necessities such as food. So what is necessity then? Because need and necessity are somewhat synonymous here. Necessity. The fact of being required or indispensable. Unavoidability. A state of things or circumstances enforcing a certain course. An indispensable thing. The principle according to which something must be so. The virtue either of logic or of a natural law. So something about truth and necessity as well. But necessity, things being on a certain course, right? So not being able to change things or not being able to control things because there's a necessity within the flow. Necessity versus need, what is the difference? A need is something that is necessary for an organism to live a healthy life. Needs are distinguished from wants. A want versus a need. A condition or situation in which something must be supplied in order for a certain condition to be maintained or a desired state to be achieved. So it's just requiring certain steps as far as that destiny goes. So let's look at need and necessity here. There you are. Because something about your humanness and your form necessitates something or needs something in order to go forward. Vitamins, or there's like a mineral deficiency or something that you look into that, check like blood levels or something, whoever that's resonating with, or just take a multivitamin. And water. Need and necessity, night and day exist within the very same moment, so dark and light. Again, we put so much negative connotation on the transformative process and going through the darker, difficult things, but I mean, it can't exist without the light. There's like a need and a necessity, or it's like necessary for that aspect and that element to be there, though we deny that aspect and that element, right? Not so much collectively, because we're starting to talk about shadow work and then overcoming ancestral traumas and looking at that sort of stuff. So there's more of a right timeness. A lot of this is in timing and when people are going to be receptive, and they're almost receptive to it. Maybe why the guide hasn't come out yet, because people aren't quite receptive. I mean, kind of, there's an experimental space here where we can see what you're receptive to and what you're not. So you can relay information or just share experience and information, like feedback here. If you have any could be beneficial for me right now, or all of us. Creation and destruction wear the same face. You only see one or the other because you're not seeing the whole. What you may see as harmful, another may believe to be good. All is based upon perception. In nature, all occurs according to need and necessity, not right or wrong. Ask yourself, is there a genuine need to act? Is change necessary for your continued well-being and happiness? If the answer is yes, then act. If the answer is no, then do not. So we're talking about changes here. Focus and then act. There is something you want or need to make manifest, but to make your dreams a reality, you must focus your will upon that desire and do what needs to be done. The necessity of it all, right? Like, you don't necessarily get to choose. There's just justice. I look at just. Let's see. I guess that's a word chock full of all kinds of stuff. Based on or behaving according to what is morally right and fair. Exactly, very recently in the immediate past, barely, by a little. Having a basis in or conforming to fact or reason, reasonable, fair, just, equitable, impartial, unbiased, dispassionate, objective, mean, free from favor toward either or any side. Objective, mean, right? Free from favor toward either or any side. So if we're talking about mean, median, and mode, then we're talking about statistics and that rationality. I loved statistics. I was shocked. How do you get 101% in statistics? You do. You can. What is the difference between just and equitable? Just implies an exact following of a standard of what is right and proper. Equitable implies a less rigorous standard than just and usually suggests equal treatment of all concerned. Equitable. Equity, right? Equity having to do with money, monetary resources, quality of being fair and impartial, the value of the shares issued by a company. The sum of the assets or investment of a business after liabilities have been subtracted. Equity. That might be something to kind of look into a little more. Prayer alone will not give you that which you desire. There are things that you must do in order to have your hopes realized. Now is not the time for stillness or passivity. Now is the time to focus your will, your thoughts, emotions, and to get up and take the necessary steps. Right? Which is funny because we've got this guy on steps and you have to go up the steps. It's necessary, right, to get through to the other side. Like, you just have to do it. You can't, like, piss and moan and whatever about it, or try to deny it, or shortcut it, or go around it. Like, you have to do it. It's part of the process. It's part of going through it, judgment or not. It's maybe painful or whatever. It's going to have some sort of feeling. You have another question? It's reveal your truth again. This one keeps popping up. Like, you just have to unmask yourself and come out of the comfort zone, really. Break through your comfort zone and reveal your truth. The justice aspect of it, the necessary parts of you because you're trying to shift them or adapt them or change them to fit in, and it's not working for you. And it's not that you need to stand out or seek attention. It's that as you reveal your truth, those things that have once been comfortable are going to be uncomfortable for a while. It'll just be unpredictable, but that doesn't mean that it's bad. Like, lean into that energy. I feel like this card comes out a lot in this space, but that's fine. Or at least it has been. When you were born, your soul shone bright. As you grew, you were taught of right and wrong. That's that indoctrination, going into a place of judgment. You got to be careful as far as ethics and groupthink mentality, because what might be right in one group is wrong for another group, but that doesn't make it like the ultimate truth. So be aware. You are taught how to think, how to live, how to believe in a way that makes you fearful to say no. Yes, you're raised to be afraid of making changes. You've been raised to be afraid of transforming and going through something difficult. You're taught to keep things the same and always maintain things as they are because it's right and it's beautiful and it's good and that's the way it should be because that's the way it's always been done. Or there's just, again, that indoctrination, which is blocking your truth. We, the sheeple, right? If you're part of the sheeple mentality, shift your gears. It can be odd being the lone wolf and being in that space, but if you find yourself in that space, hi, hello, embrace it and run with it. It's part of it. To disagree is to risk alienation from family and society, and so you hide your true thoughts and feelings behind a mask. That mask hides your light. Cast it aside, embrace and live your truth, and let your soul shine once more. And I've seen this in situations too, or I've experienced this in work situations, especially recently, where if you're not there to fully agree with the way somebody does something, right, or if you express a discord or whatever, then you're alienated and you're put aside because there are people who can't reflect or self-reflect, or people who want to hide behind that mask because they think that that is what makes them, right? But it's true. I mean, you have to just be aware that when you speak your truth and show your truth and you even stand up for justice or stand up for other people, that there's a high likelihood of being ostracized or cast out or put aside, and not because you're bad, right, or because you've done anything wrong. It's because people want to hide behind that mask. They want to maintain that sense of comfort and predictability. They find stability in that, or they find a false sense of control, where they can be in control of everything, or they can create a hierarchy of rules where they can, again, just create the rules and create the conditions and feel like they're in control and feel like they're in power over something, right? Observe in silence. Ask me a question. Let your emotions flow. I just saw that. Emotions flow like water. We're talking about going with the flow of life. And a lot of the things we're talking about as far as energetics can be related to emotions and the emotional aspects that we're supposed to be feeling, whether it's bliss or happiness or joy, and if we're feeling depressed and pain and sorrow and all of these. Let your emotions flow. We're taught you're not supposed to feel bad, or there are certain things that you're not allowed to feel. You have to feel a certain way all the time, so people get caught up in trying to always feel the same way, so they numb themselves because they're told if they're feeling something different or feeling different than something around them, again, then they're ostracized. They can be joyous like a babbling brook, as deep and strong as a river. Give yourself permission to feel and experience them without judgment or without blame. Like, take control or responsibility for your own emotions. I experience that a lot in these situations where here I am revealing my truth, being myself, and people are like, you made me feel bad. It make you feel anything, or whatever it is that you're feeling, understand that it's going to be different than what other people are feeling, so it's not like it's my fault. I'm not making you do anything. Take responsibility for your own emotions and observe what is coming up for you. Observe it in silence. Sit with that energy. We'll look at that one after this, because there's that funny little fox, right, sitting at that doorway, seeking his destiny. So we'll look a little bit about what he is, although that creature looks almost like a cat. Anyway, do not deny them, for that can only lead to harm and dis-ease, right? Disease. We get sick and feel bad, or any of those emotions that we're not being honest or that we're denying ourselves, that are going to manifest themselves within the body as heart disease, heart problems, weight issues, pains, joint issues, a general sense of discomfort, Do not damn them within you, release them. Let them flow and go. Allow yourself to feel them and learn from them as you embrace them for what they are. A natural response to the moment that you exist in that will pass as the moment passes. Creating a sacred space or sacred container comes into play. Meditation comes into play as well, because we're observing in silence and getting to that point where you're ready to transform and step into the next part of your life. When you're done numbing yourself, or done kind of tuning it all out, you can sit there and observe it in silence. So it's just meditation. It's allowing, it's taking note of the subtle body. But again, just allowing yourself the conscious experience of feeling feelings, or just feeling life, feeling what it means to be alive. And understanding feelings. That's where people don't have the tools, though. They don't have the tools to feel all the feelings, because they feel a feeling and they get consumed by it or swept up in it, or they have this idea or this notion that the feeling is controlling them or taking control over them, right? And so they're trying to control how this process happens. And when we're processing difficult emotions, it can be rather shocking to see how the body responds to it, or how the body reacts to it in these situations, right? The body is intelligent. Our genetics, our DNA is incredibly intelligent, and in that code is written healing, health and healing. Our body wants to be in alignment. It wants to heal itself, right? And we suppress our body's natural abilities to heal itself by trying to control it with the mind and with mind thoughts. And here we are in this global state of dis-ease and discomfort, disconnected, dissing people for their differences. I don't know. Observe in silence. That's what you guys are doing today. Observing in silence. That's fine. I've got 15% more on battery, so we'll start wrapping this up. That's fine. You don't have to participate and ask questions. It doesn't have to be loud and noisy. You can just observe. You can just be silent and take it in. That's fine. No judgment at my table, no judgment here. Now is not the time to be the life of the party, nor to step forward into the role of leader or teacher. Be cautious. It may not be wise to draw attention to yourself or to reveal your plans to others at this time. Instead, be silent. Step back. Be still. Watch those around you and be mindful of what you see, hear, and feel. Trust in your instincts and intuition and let them guide your steps. In that space, you'll find trusting, or just the energy of trusting and courage. I want to pull out of another deck real quick because I think these guys have pretty much gone around the world this morning here. Justice comes forward. Justice. I don't know, I might look to this. I've got a lot to say, or there's just a lot of information here, and I don't want to necessarily pick one thing to obsess over for the next however many percentages of battery life I have here. Tree of Life. I think that's kind of why I feel so peaceful at the moment with a lot of these different things, because I can see it and I can feel it, and it's just funny to me, those who push that away, or those who can't make eye contact, or because I see you can't hide. Right? I can see things and feel things in you that, it's okay. Tree of Life. Let's ground in. Get grounded. We're going to plant those deep, deep roots in, and we're going to close off this space with one of these Tree of Life cards. And we're going to take this energy with us as we move forward into the next day. I might be able to show up here tomorrow and the following day, so we'll see. Pick a card, any card. Thank you for showing up in this space. Thank you for the stars. Thank you for the support. Thank you for just being here. Thank you for having the bravery to go through this transformative process and this evolutionary process, because it's difficult. Right. Let's budge it one more time because we're releasing a lot here, and that's great. Last card as we close this off here today. Man, time flies. Quickly. I feel like I just sat down. Wind. Let's see. It's fine. I might leave this one off to the side for myself. Let's talk about wind. The winds of change. The thought of wind came forward in a poem for me yesterday. Maybe that's but wind. Ooh, the breeze. Where are you? What number? Number 10. There's been a lot of 10s showing up, so it's a completion of a cycle, which makes sense. The beginning of a new cycle. Things are ending, things are beginning. There you go. Let's talk about wind and being flexible and flexibility, because if you're not flexible in mind, body, and spirit, that's when you'll snap, you'll break. You'll have that breakdown. But no judgment, it's necessary and it's important. Flexibility, spirituality, breath of life, navigation, cleansing, rigidity, pain, stubbornness, scattered ideas, lack of focus. Just going to read the bit to you. If anything comes out, I'll make note of it. If not, we'll wrap this up with wind. Are you ready for action? Wow, we've been talking a lot about action, making action towards personal change and transformation. Tree of Life tree in wind card has you braced for gales. Spirit is talking to you through the unseen wind, and it may feel like a superstorm. The question is whether to be flexible or in bending. Trees sway in the breeze, and, if they are flexible, they do not snap and break. You may have an opportunity to show bendability in a current situation, a chance to deepen your spiritual awareness in the process. The breath of life sweeps through now, clearing and cleansing. This gives you an opportunity to trust your spiritual sensing without having to understand why. Know your limits as we tune inward. This is a great way of bringing all of these pieces together here, right? If you're in a drama that took you by storm and you can no longer be flexible, adjust and restore your strength. Too much flexibility can cause you to uproot and lose your sense of place. So you may be entering a time when being resolute is called for. When you stand your ground, it should be truly worth it. If you choose to be rigidly steadfast, do it because you truly feel it is right for you and for the best of all concerned. Give a little, and yet not too much, in order to survive. Let spirit cool things down and soothe you. Tree and Wind card asks if you stubbornly hold tight to any old notions of yourself or ways you've outgrown. Right? That's releasing the mask, releasing your current perceptions of the way you think things are or should be or have to be or need to be. Right? Are you unbending in less than ideal ways in personal relationships or with people at work? Do you stick to the rules to the point where you cannot enjoy the spontaneous, natural fluctuations of life? I feel like that's a lot of people, kind of in that cheapo mentality. They create these rules and regulations, or these standards, or a box or a container which they put themselves in, and then it creates limiting beliefs and limiting experiences, and they get really comfortable inside of that box. And they don't want to come out. Any pressure on that box, right, creates dis-ease. There are times to let go and allow, and times to stop resisting the inevitable. Now, right, that's part of that destiny part too, that seek your destiny. It's just inevitable, and like no matter what you do or how you try to run from it or what decisions you make in life or where you decide to go or whatever you do, one day you'll wake up and you'll realize that you would have ended up in the same point in time and space no matter what you would have done regardless, because you're not in control, right? Now may be the time for you in some way. Now may be that time for you in some area of your life, right? Stop resisting the inevitable. Tree of Life and Wind card also reminds you to take note of drama in your life. Is there someone who loves to bluster up a storm and get everything trembling? Everyone trembling? And watch those kind of people in your life too, because they will. Their whole MO is to try and destabilize you in some sort of way so that they can displace responsibility, okay? Because they don't want to take responsibility for their own emotions, and so they put the responsibility of emotional affect onto other people, and then that emotional affect is judged by a collective, right? And then there's an ostracization or an alienation that happens, and then the whole world becomes blind. Are you whipped around to the breaking point? Consider that too much drama for the sake of drama is a dynamic that is not so beneficial, and that more moderate days are necessary for you to gain strength and concentrate. Consolidate, concentrate, just be you. Having to always brace for the next storm is an unpleasant way to exist. It's like survival mode. And that's that whole, I don't know if I've got him anywhere close. Oh, this guy again, he's right over, kind of on top. It's this one, right? This is a really uncomfortable space to exist in, is when you've had a lot of people violate you, or situations that have been detrimental to your well-being, right? You want to be prepared because another storm is coming. I mean, it's life. It's the natural flow and the state of things. And the wind currents are always changing and moving themselves around the world, moving themselves across all of the elements. The air touches all of the other elements. Being a tree in wind should mean being able to reach for the sun and feel the gentle breeze. Too much constant drama will give you windburn. But again, that drama is a label that you put on things, so somebody can be like, oh, quit being so dramatic, and then they're not, and there can be that whole somebody looking very stoic and unmoved, but this boiling drama underneath it all. I don't know, Elder is here. Do you want me to talk about that one too? Because it's a wisdom of all time. It's part of the process, having to bear the winds, and the longer you can sustain the winds through life, right, the more, how do we want to say, breadth we can cover, or the more girth we have. And sometimes that girth is more important than length. Because the longer something is, the more likely it is to break. But you give it girth, and it can be as stumpy as you want, but it still makes an impact. Very pleasant one, maybe, at that. Just to use up the rest of this battery and milk it for what we can. Wisdom. Experience, knowledge, care, depth, passive action, self-assurance, endurance, patience. Right? Because if you're not, irritability, inflexibility, afraid of death, that's part of that transformative thing too. People don't want to go through this process and become really rigid because they're afraid of death or afraid of something new. Weakness, regrets, senility, and impatience. Again, expecting something to happen more quickly, wanting something or wanting to be in control of something. Eternal aspects of self. Again, silent, watchful, knowing. It will warn you when you are going astray and will nudge you back. So those warnings in life are meant to, like, guide you back into your place and into your path. It's not meant to scare you. Know that you are responsible for your decisions, and again with your emotions as well. Maybe we can create some sort of bridge between decisions and choice, right? Choice and decision. That's something that we can get into at some point or another. Try not to get irritable when others don't understand you or what you're doing. Learn from your mistakes and let regrets help you make better decisions. I mean, if somebody is not ready to see or understand, or like you can't force them, right? You can't make them see a thing, and so it's not worth your time and your energy to get irritated and upset, because then you're not in a space of acceptance. You're in a space of judgment and judging that which is outside of you to be not worthy or something that you want to be in control of, like you're not willing to embrace any change within that aspect. The truth is not something you can hide. The truth just is. I mean, even in that masking of self, right? Revealing your truth. You can't hide it. It just is. It is there. It's there whether or not you want it to be there. And just because you're putting a mask on it doesn't mean that other persons can see it or cannot see it, for that matter. They're going to be able to see it and perceive it from whatever level they're at and whatever lens that they're looking through, not through whatever level you're at and whatever lens you're looking through. So looking through your lens into another person, it's best not to judge where they're at and to radically accept their point in place in time and to just honor their journey and their knowledge. Man. Don't give in to your weaknesses. advising you not to give in to your weaknesses. The elder within balks and draws the line, telling you to stop doing anything that does not benefit you, and does not benefit you in the highest good of all. And that's somewhere where we can get into this realm of prayer. And my shamanic teacher taught me this when you're praying for something and asking for something that you need, it's not that you're being specific and trying to force your will and control things. It's a simple thank you. It's a thank you. It's a thank you for the energy that is to come and the energy that has been given. Yes, I've been listening, and yes, I do take this in. But it's a thank you for whatever opportunity or whatever is presented to you, because there's a deeper aspect in that willing and that knowledge, right? You may be allowing someone else to live on the edge at your expense. You may be sheltering someone from the storm they themselves have caused or have become entangled in. It's kind of self-sacrificing because you don't want to cause pain or hurt other people, but again, it's not really in your control or up to your decision, although we try to protect people a lot because we don't want to hurt people, even if they've hurt us. They're still wanting to protect people or to shelter them. Something in the lessons about not making things easier for other people, but allowing them to go through the process. But I mean, if you're in a nurturing, protective element, or your authority or your role is to protect and to nurture, then you should do that. Because if you don't, and you're putting somebody else in the position of having to do things for you, right? You'll have longer-term repercussions that you'll have to deal with in the form of disease. Not to enable those around you to take advantage of you or to destroy themselves or others. The worst threat I've ever heard, or the worst thing I think I've ever heard anybody say to me is, I'll publicly destroy you! And just that desire and urge to harm another person and to destroy somebody, it becomes self-destructive, and you watch people say these things in an element where they're destroying something within themselves, basically they're intoxicated or something. Oftentimes people won't speak like that if their judgment is not clouded, but you allow the spirits to come in, like say through alcohol or through just a veiled, numbed perception, then that which is projected outwards is going to be false, which is important to be without malice. I don't understand. Hold on, there's something in there, and then I will close this off. Where did you go? Or to take advantage of others, or you see that a lot, people wanting to take energy from, and then you want to support other people, and then it's again like being too kind, being too nice, or being too far into one extreme instead of another. Something about enabling there as well. Because you see this, because then you see people who are destroying the lives of other people, or you can see this in group settings sometimes where you'll be talking to a person and you'll be like, this person was so destructive, and then they're like, yeah, they've been like that before, and I've seen them destroy other people and things, and then they're still supporting that destruction to keep the peace, or to meet some sort of need, or what is the necessity in that? Part of the life lessons and the wisdom, and something that makes the wheel turn. I don't know. Something that brings us to the unknown, something that brings us to our own power, but be without malice. I think it's an important thing to go through when you're going through these transformative aspects and these difficult things. Because the intensity of the feelings gets so caught up, and then, I don't know, let's look at malice for this last 5%. We're almost out of time here. Then I do have to wrap this up. We can come back to this tomorrow, too, and keep going. Malice, the intention or desire to do evil or ill will. If you're going to do something, do it for the highest good of yourself and the highest good of all. And you don't get to necessarily choose what that is. You have to separate yourself and your ego. That evil intention comes in when you're trying to get something over another person or have something to strong-will that ego. Oh, you guys, like, they're so noisy up here and so quiet out there. You've been hurt, disrespected, or disappointed by others. Another has let you down or betrayed you. It is normal and natural to experience feelings of anger, hurt, and disappointment. To feel any and all emotions is natural, but you have a choice always in how you respond. Do not allow your hurt to become a source of infection. Acknowledge it, learn from it and your experiences, and then let the anger, hurt, and disappointment go. Do not allow them to inspire retaliatory acts born of malice or spite. Feel your feelings, love yourself, and love your other people. Thanks for showing up in this space. Reach out to me if you want a private reading. I'm flexible, but not too flexible. Just kidding. Anything else? Nope. Thanks. Have a good day.